Attorney Roy Ibay is one of the most vocal voices on the proposed Konektadong Pinoy Bill, raising critical concerns about its possible impact to the public. He warned that some provisions in the measure could act as a Trojan horse, putting consumers and national security at risk. Why does he believe the country can achieve connectivity without this bill? Joining us is the Vice President of the Philippine Chamber of Telecom Operators, Attorney Roy Ibay. Good morning, Attorney Roy.
Good morning, Attorney Karen. Good morning po din sa lahat ng ating mga tagapanood.
So, Attorney Roy, just this week, we had Secretary Henry Aguda of the DICT explain the Konektadong Pinoy Bill and why this is important to improve the connectivity in the Philippines. Ano po yung mga issues that you're raising against this bill?
Okay. Well, first and foremost, let me clarify that the Philippine Chamber of Telecom Operators is actually one in the call of the President for fast, reliable, safe, and affordable internet. And we are actually in support of the Digital Bayanihan program. And it actually was the bill, no? Open access. Originally, it was called the Open Access Bill, which was introduced in the 16th Congress. And then in the past Congress, 19th Congress, finally, it reached the BICAM. And now it is awaiting the signature of the President. For the longest time, the version of the House was what we took part of, no? So for the past 3 Congresses, we were there, we were being consulted. But apparently, ang nakakalungkot, nitong latter part of last year, a new version, which is Konektadong Pinoy, supposedly coming off from the open access version, was filed in the Senate and we were never consulted. So just to clarify, hindi po naman kami entirely against the objective of the bill, no? Ang sa amin lang is we were never consulted. And so may mga provisions din talaga dun sa bill na yon na tingin namin mas mapapaganda pa kung naging parte kami ng proseso. In fact,
Like, can you give an example? Anong
in fact,
provision
we'd
are
like
you?
to thank Sec Henry, no? Before he was appointed secretary, he was head of the Secretariat of the PSAC, which is the Private Sector Advisory Council for the telecoms and ICT sector. And pinakinggan niya kami noon kasi niraise namin noon, isisama sana siya sa mga priority bills na pwedeng i-push ng PSAC sa Malacanang. But, you know, kami from the industry told the PSAC back then, we discussed adequately that there are other more pressing issues that the industry would like to have Congress address.
Like what?
And okay,
Like
so
what pressing
kasama po
issue?
dito sa issue nitong Konektadong Pinoy, no? So as I said, number one is the Konektadong Pinoy actually has 4 major issues. First is it opens up threats to national security. Secondly, it introduces unfair rules. Third, it weakens investments. And fourth is it impacts the sustainable digital infrastructure in the long run. So let me first discuss
Yeah, the first point
opening
on
threats to
national security. Yeah.
Oo. So during we were following the reading of this bill, no, in the Senate. The original version was that they only afforded 1 year for new digital transmission participants to get a cyber security audit or certification. We were surprised that after the BICAM, the version now extends it to 2 years. And I've been working with the CICC, Cybercrime Investigation Coordinating Council. Every day, there's actually an invisible war, a digital cyber war ongoing. And if you extend, yun nga lang 1 year, it's already a long extended period. In-extend mo pa ng 2 years, it really affords very porous infrastructure where, you know, threat actors can exploit.
What is this extension from 1 year to 2 years?
Yes, the final BICAM version that's now submitted to the President. And we are appealing, no, to the President really to tread carefully. And after hearing our arguments, maybe better send back to Congress so that we can be part of the process again. No? Similar to what happened nung SIM-Reg law. The SIM-Reg law, the first version was sent to President Duterte in 2022, it was vetoed by President Duterte because there's a provision there that pati yung social media account mo, profile, kailangan i-register mo. So the President back then sent it back, ayusin nyo, and then I think within the year or the early following year, it was sent back and then it was signed now with the cleaner, more acceptable version. So that's what we only ask, that we be part so that we can craft this Konektadong Pinoy or the open access to be more acceptable and to be more fair, because that's what we're asking.
But is it yung acceptability and fairness that you're asking for? Is it
Yes,
on
fair
the side
rules,
as well
equal
of...
rules, and equal safeguards for all players.
But is it also on the side of the consumers, or are you talking about fair rules
Yes, because
for the telcos that now exist?
Of course, for all stakeholders. That's why, going back to the national security issue, what we're saying is this extension of 2 years can be
Sorry,
exploited.
just to take a step back, what is the extension of the 2 years? It's also not clear to me.
So if I were a new digital transmission player, it will take me 2 years before the DICT or any other third party can audit my operations, whether I'm cybersecurity compliant or not.
Are you talking about like a new telco
Yes,
player that
yes,
enters the market?
yes, yes.
Oh, so is this the Trojan horse that you're talking about? The Trojan horse of cybersecurity?
Yes.
Because you might have a new telco player that is not compliant with the security safety measures, and then they can operate for 2 years.
Yes. Secondly is, if you are familiar with the Constitution provides that the government, in times of national emergency or distress, can take over any utility or any business with public interest. And this is found in almost all the franchises on telecoms that were issued since the very, very beginning. So this will now be absent because the new players now will not require a franchise. I'm not saying that this is good or bad, but what I'm saying is there has to be some similar requirement on new players that whenever, for example, now during this habagat, and if you've been receiving these emergency cell broadcast messages on your cell phone, this was provided for under the Mobile Disaster Alerts Act, which mobile telcos had to invest again in infrastructure in the hundreds of millions to be able to provide this mobile disaster alerts.
Ganun ba? Mahal pala yun.
Ay,
Akala
opo.
ko text lang siya
Ay,
talaga
hindi po,
pinadali.
hindi po,
So
hindi po, hindi
the
po.
telcos had to spend
Yes.
around hundreds of millions
Yes.
to get that operational.
Yes. And in fact, even the emergency communication system, yung 8888, yung 117 before, and then now it became 911, these are all added investments by the telcos without any government subsidy to provide what the law mandates, no? So, in fact, even the Mobile Number Portability Act, which actually right now, the consortium provided for 10 million porting channels, but only so far, since it was started 2 years ago, only 80,000 have ported. And not so many know that your number can actually be ported already to another network without changing the number.
Oh, yeah.
So these are all investments made by the telcos without any public subsidy. And this will all be now absent under the Konektadong Pinoy Bill if it becomes into law.
Well, it seems like when I read the Konektadong Pinoy Bill is that the end goal is really to have more players in the market.
Yes.
And that's why they relax rules, and in terms of encouraging even foreign investors to come in, it's something that the bill seems to address.
Yes.
But kayo po, you're part of the telecom industry. We have, for a long time, a duopoly. Tapos recently, dito entered the market. Pero 3 players pa lang po. What would you say about criticisms that those that are against the Konektadong Pinoy Bill are just trying to protect the existing players? And this is anti-competitive or anti-progressive. It's an
Okay.
anti-progressive stance to be against
That's
the
a very,
Konektadong
very
Pinoy
good
Bill.
question. In fact, in other forums where we were invited, I actually narrate and tell them that the snapshot that you see today, if you look back 30 years, 1995, when the EO 109 or the RA 7925 was enacted, opened up already the telecoms industry. way back then, there were 6 mobile players, and there were 12 international gateway operators. Back then kasi very lucrative po yung long distance eh. So a lot of telcos applied for that, no? And then what happened is that the current situation where you have, as you said, 3 players evolved from 1995 where you have 6. Parang bangko, di ba? I mean, before you had Far East Bank, you have PCI Bank, and all the other banks that have merged and consolidated. Same way po yan. So Islacom, Bayantel, Philtel. Yeah. There were so many mobile players, but because of the economic crisis in 1997, because of what happened in our economy, the global changes, from 1995 to present, series of market consolidation took place to what happened now. So we should not fault the movement of the industry vis-a-vis what happened in terms of our economy and business. So
the consolidation came as a reaction to the
what
market
they're saying
conditions.
that there's absence of competition. That's not true. The result of what we see now was a result really of direct competition 30 years ago, no? And so that's what I'm saying. And if I may go to the second point, aside from, as I said, no, open up threats to national security, it introduces unfair rules, the Konektadong Pinoy.
So the unfair rules are...
Unfair rules, because if you study the current version of the KP, there are a lot of constitutional infirmities in its provisions. One is the provision on the spectrum policy management framework, which is for the lawyers of PCTO, we feel that this is a violation of the one subject rule provided for under the Constitution. In fact, the Congress, the House version, does not provide for that spectrum policy management framework because they understand that this spectrum policy management framework is actually the topic of another bill filed in the Congress. But the Senate version included already the spectrum policy management framework in that same bill. So for one, we feel that there's already another topic being introduced aside from open access, aside from addressing connectivity. Likewise, in terms of the involvement of the PCC, we feel the PCC was actually organized to check on abuse of market or dominant position.
Yeah, the
But
anti-competitive behavior.
Yeah, under the KP, it now lowers the standard to looking into significant market power. No? So for economists, these are two different concepts altogether, which we feel that the PCC might, open a lot of a lot of questions on the operations of the digital transmission players, including the telcos, to what they were originally organized or formed to look into. And then a lot of violation of equal protection and treaty obligations. So, for example, there's a provision in the KP that actually states that there has to be a technology neutrality in terms of application. But clearly, under the Konektadong Pinoy, there is preference to the satellite technology. Why? Because if you look at Section 14, it grants preferential treatment to satellite operators by allowing them to connect to broadband networks and use radio spectrum directly without even having to partner with a PTE.
Okay. That's very technical. Pero hindi ba to, Attorney Roy, a way to connect areas that don't have reception? Like yung mga mabundok, if you're connecting to a satellite.
We're not against the satellite technology per se. In fact, there are telcos like the company where I work for, PLDT Smart, is actually a partner also of Starlink. So what we're saying is, if you were going to let a satellite player come in, they should follow same rules and same treatment and same safeguards. So, for example, under the KP bill, there's a possible violation of treaty obligations, no? The ITU radio regulations, because in the original Senate third reading version, there was a provision there that the satellite provider must coordinate with the NTC as to the spectrum usage. This was removed in the BICAM version.
Okay.
So this, in effect, is a possible violation of the radio regulations treaty that the Philippines is a signatory with the ITU. Because the treaty actually provides that any satellite provider must coordinate with the local regulation or regulator.
But that's for security purposes, probably.
That's for security and for harmony of spectrum. Because
what's the danger?
There's a service of satellite where they can do set up earth stations in country. And if they do that, then they have to definitely coordinate and with the regulator.
So, para hindi mag-interfere.
Para
with
hindi mag-interfere, para hindi po
spectrum.
magulo. Opo.
Okay. And but with all the technicalities, Attorney Roy, especially for those listening here, ang daming technical dun sa mga sinabi mo, and of course, for some people, it doesn't really resonate with them when you're talking about spectrum. Kasi at the end of the day, ang concern lang naman ng mga Pinoy talaga is affordable data and mobile connection na mabilis at reliable, which I think is something that the Philippines has been said to be behind its ASEAN peers when it comes to speed and connectivity at affordable rates.
Actually, just to clarify, I don't think we're really, if you look at the ASEAN benchmarks, we're always somewhere in the middle. But to clarify why we're in that middle is because we are the only country in the telecommunications that started from ground up without any government support. All the countries in ASEAN were telecommunications growth was spurred by the government.
That's including Vietnam,
Yes, Singapore.
Cambodia.
Yes.
Well, Singapore.
Yes.
Singapore is one of the fastest, and
yes,
Hong Kong.
Yes, because again, the Singapore government started the telecommunications growth in those countries. And
So
that
would you
was
say
what is
that sa
absent,
industry natin, dapat mag-subsidize din ang government?
Well, I feel that if government subsidy, mahirapan ng government subsidy, at the very least, you reduce the regulatory fees because a regulatory agency is not a taxing authority. Under the law, regulatory fees must only equal the cost of supervision and regulation. So, but if you look at how much the industry has been contributing to our regulator, we have been contributing 6 to 7 billion pesos annually, which is I think in the vicinity already of a taxing,
Yeah. But the contributions are with respect to yung
regulatory fees.
Wow, ang
And
laki
this
pala.
and this isn't even including taxes and other local government fees and agency
So
fees.
mahal din to do business
Yes,
here
and for the
a
past 10
telco.
years, we've been, probably the industry, as between probably the two giants, PLDT and Globe, they've contributed more than 1 trillion pesos probably for the past 10 years, no?
And Attorney Roy, because we're running out of time, with respect to the Konektadong Pinoy Bill, if this passes, are you worried that the additional competition could reduce the profitability or have a negative impact on Smart, Globe, dito, the existing
Yeah,
players?
actually very, very timely question because it ties into the last two issues, no, which is to weaken investment and it impacts the sustainability of the digital infrastructure. It affects most of our operations, no, the large, even I'm sure the small telcos, the rural telcos, which are also part of the PCTO, no, the POP telcos, have loans. And to have something like this, a significant legislation like this, without, at least some buttress or some standards that will try to at least minimize the impact, will change the rules midstream. And this will possibly scare a lot of our investors and even also probably those who want to invest in the new upstarts will be scared because if government can do this now, what will stop them from
doing it
also
in
not
other
doing it again
sectors.
later on? No?
Okay. So sa Monday na po ang SONA ni President Bongbong Marcos. Are you expecting to hear him talk about the Konektadong Pinoy Bill, or do you, as a sector, want to hear this in his SONA?
As I said, we are in support of the Digital Bayanihan program of the President. We're in support of fast, reliable, safe, and affordable internet. So we would like to probably, we don't know if the President will sign this. Now the President has returned from the United States. We know that this Konektadong Pinoy has been a major lobby of the American Chamber of Commerce and all other foreign chambers. So, but we hope that the President will tread carefully and will study this, and if possible, really send it back to Congress so that we can be part of the process.
Okay. Thank you so much, Attorney Roy. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.